So for you to get an idea about the Mahabharata, you have heard about the Greek mythology, the Odyssey, the Iliad. You have heard about those Greek mythologies? Yeah? So just take the Odyssey and the Iliad, which is two of the main Greek mythologies, multiply the volume of those two scriptures 7 or 8 times, and you have 1 time the Mahabharata. Yeah, just to get an idea how huge the Mahabharata is. And in the Mahabharata, like I said, there is contained the Bhagavad Gita. So let me just give you a short summary of how it came to this war of Mahabharata, of this war between the good and the bad, how it came to the Bhagavad Gita in a very short matter. Okay, so once upon a time there was the great Bharat. Bharat is the ancient name for India, but it is said that this kingdom of Bharat was, some say, covering actually the whole world. Yeah, and in that Bharat there were many clans, many important clans with different kings, and one of this clan was the Kuru dynasty. The Kuru dynasty, which the main seat was Hastinapur. Hastinapur is where nowadays more or less is New Delhi. Yeah, in modern India, New Delhi, that's more or less where Hastinapur was. So in that dynasty of Kuru, there were many great kings, many great important stories, and it came at some point. I will just start from the lineage of the 3 brothers. So there were 3 brothers which are part of this lineage, and these 3 brothers are on one. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, the first one is Dhritarashtra, which is the blind king. The second one was Pandu, which was the actual king, and Vidur. He became a minister of this kingdom. So these were 3 brothers. Very interesting story how they were conceived. They are all sons of Vedavyasa. I don't know if you have heard about Vedavyasa. He compiled all the Vedas, etc. Interesting story, but I'm not going there because otherwise it's getting too complex. Just remember 3 brothers. And the oldest is Dhritarashtra. So he is actually the heir for the kingdom. He is actually the one who should inherit the kingdom, who sit on the throne and rule everything. Yeah, because the oldest son is always the one who gets the kingdom. But as he was born blind, they discussed if it is proper to put somebody on the throne who cannot see. And they decided, no, Dhritarashtra should not become the king. And so they decided that the second son, Pandu, should become the king. So Pandu became the king. Vidur, as he was the son of a servant, he became the minister. And obviously that was not, Dhritarashtra, the blind king, was not happy about that. Yeah, he was refused to be king because he was blind. Nevertheless, now Pandu is king. Pandu has 2 wives. One is Kunti and one is Madri. Kunti and Madri. And one time he went on a holiday with them, and he made some offense. He made some problems to some rishis. It's a different story. I'm not going into detail again. And he got cursed. Yeah, he got cursed by this sage that he will never be able to get intimate with his wives. If he ever gets intimate with his wives, he will die. Okay? So now he was very sad about that and scared, because if he cannot get intimate with his wives, how he gonna carry on the bloodline, how he gonna have a successor for his kingdom. Yeah, it's always about the kingdom and the dynasty which needs to keep on going. That's why you need a son, a strong son, etc., etc. So he went on a pilgrimage. Pandu with his 2 wives went on a pilgrimage to do some austerity and to get liberated from that curse. Yeah? So he went on this pilgrimage. He took both his wife with him. And during this time, he found out that, because of course he wanted a son, he wanted to have sons, but he couldn't, couldn't get intimate. So he found out that one of his wives, Kunti, she had a boon. Her boon was that she got a mantra from a sage whom she served while she was a child. And that mantra had the capacity to attract any god. And whichever mantra, whichever god she calls upon, from that one she will receive a child. You're following me? Yeah? So they were thinking, oh, that is great. So let's have a few children. Yeah? So that our kingdom and our dynasty can keep on going. So they were asking themselves, what is actually the most important thing? What is the most important thing for a kingdom? And they decided that the most important thing for a kingdom, what is the quality a king has to have, is he has to be righteous. He has to be correct. He has to be dharmic. And therefore, they called upon Dharmaraj. So Dharmaraj is the aspect of God which is righteousness. And Yudhishthira was the first son. He was the son of Dharmaraj, the son of the god of righteousness, and Kunti. Okay? So far so good? Yes? So basically they were in this beautiful forest, and they were like thinking, how are we gonna get children? And she says, I have this amazing mantra. And he says, really, you have this mantra? Cool. Make the mantra. She calls about Dharmaraj, and Dharmaraj says like, ping, and the child is there. And the child is called Yudhishthira. So he's now the oldest, and he's the one who's gonna take care of the kingdom once Pandu is not gonna be anymore. So they said like, okay, whom else we gonna call upon? Well, the first thing is righteousness. The second most important thing in a kingdom is you need protection. You need strength. So they called upon Vayu, the god of wind. And by calling upon the god of wind, bing, another child appeared, and that child was called Bhima. He is the son of Vayu. And then the third child was called upon the king of the gods, Indra. Indra is in charge for the rain and for the thunderstorm and so on. Yeah, so he's the king in the heavens. You know, in Hinduism there's many heavens. These are like these demigods, if you want. Yeah, and Indra is the boss of them. So they called upon him, strength and heroism, and bing, another child was born, and that child is Arjuna. Okay, you have heard about Arjuna? Why is that important? Because Arjuna is the hero in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, so he is the son of Indra, of the god, of the king of the gods, and of Kunti. And then Kunti, being very kind, gave the mantra to the other wife, to Madri, because Madri also couldn't have children if nobody can touch her, right? But a woman likes to have children, so she gave the mantra to her, to the other wife, and the other wife called upon the Ashwini twins. The Ashwini twins are healer gods, yeah? And Nakul and Sahadev were born. So these are now the 5 brothers, the 5 Pandavas. The oldest one, Yudhishthir, he being the son of the god of righteousness, then Bhima being the son of the wind god, then Arjuna being the son of Indra, and Nakul and Sahadev being the sons of the Ashvinis. Okay? So far so good? So, now, during this time, while they were on this pilgrimage, the kingdom could of course not be without a king. Yeah, so Pandu is the king, he goes for a pilgrimage, and during the time of pilgrimage, he said to his elder brother, to the blind king Dhritarashtra, that he should guard the kingdom in the meantime. He should sit on his behalf on the throne. Yeah, just as a representative, not as the king. He just represents till he comes back. Okay? So Dhritarashtra was sitting on the throne, and he in the meantime also got married. He got married to Gandhari. Gandhari, she blindfolded herself as well. This is just a side story. You might have heard about her. Yeah, the wife of the blind king. She also put a blindfold around her eyes out of solidarity to her husband. And once Yudhishthir was born, so Yudhishthir is the eldest son, the firstborn of the king. So he is the righteous heir of the kingdom. After that has happened, also Dhritarashtra, the blind king, and his wife Gandhari had sons. And again, it's a very interesting story. It's basically cloning has started already at that time. So, but yeah, basically there was a lump of flesh and they divided it in 100 pieces, and out of that there were like born 100 sons. Yeah, I'm just throwing it there. So if you're interested, you go deeper into the story. The oldest of those 100 sons is Duryodhan. Duryodhan, and he represents our desires and our pride, our prideful desires. That is what Duryodhan represents. And then there's Dushasan, which is the second most famous, and the 89 brothers. There's one sister also, which represent all the negative qualities which come along with desire and with pride. Yes? So these were, so to say, the bad guys. So we have 5 good guys that are the Pandavas, the sons of those gods, the semi half gods. Yeah? And you have the bad guys, which are the sons of the blind king, which are 100. You are with me? You follow? Understood everything? So they are cousins, basically. The Pandavas and the Kauravas. The Pandavas are the sons of Pandu, the 5 good guys, and the Kauravas are the 100 brothers. They are the sons of Dhritarashtra. They are cousins. So, now all of these children are born. What happened during this pilgrimage? Pandu was tempted, the king who got cursed, not to get intimate with his wife. He got tempted by one of his wife, by Madri. He couldn't resist, and so he actually went to her, touched her, and died. That was the end of Pandu, and Madri, because she was the cause of his death, decided to ascend the funeral fire with him. So she died together with him. So now you have a widow, a mother with 5 sons being in the middle of the jungle, and she has no more husband, which was the king, and now the sages tell her go back to your kingdom and raise your children in the kingdom in Hastinapur, which is nowadays Delhi. Okay? So, Bibiana, your mic is... So, okay, that's good. So now, Kunti with her 5 sons goes back to Hastinapur, and obviously when the blind king and the brothers notice that now the true heirs of the kingdom have come, they are not happy at all. Because so far they were in charge of the kingdom. They had all the riches, they had all the power, and now the true heir comes. The queen and her 5 sons. And that's always a threat. So over the years, the Pandavas and the Kauravas, these 2 cousins, they had the same education. They learned the warfare and all the different things from the same guru, Dronacharya, Kripacharya. Yeah, they are important characters in the Mahabharata. They learned together. They were growing up together. And during this time of growing up, there was always an enmity between those 2, especially from the side of the Kauravas, the bad guys. So Duryodhan has tried many times to kill his cousins. He has tried many different things. Poison them, burn them alive, drown them, whatever. But somehow he never succeeded. So what happened? Many different things happened, but there was one point where Yudhishthir now became the king. He became the absolute king. They actually separated the kingdom into 2 to keep peace, blah blah. So that there's a big drama. It's always a big drama, like big drama. But in the end, as they couldn't kill them, so the Shakuni, which is the brother of the blind king's wife, Gandhari's brother, Shakuni, he's a very tagliato, he's a very, I don't know if you have this in your country, this means it's like a sneaky guy, yeah? He's a very sneaky guy. And so they said like, okay, as we couldn't kill them, as we couldn't get rid of them, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna play a game of dice. Let's play a game of dice. And as Shakuni had some magical dices, some magical, I don't know how, yeah, dice I think they're called, yeah. He always won, yeah. And Yudhishthir had a little fault. He actually jumped for the game, he played the game, and he lost everything. So they started to play a game of dice, and in the beginning some riches were offered. He lost, and he keep on losing, and after some time he lost his kingdom, and after some time he lost all his servants, and after some time he lost his brothers, because Duryodhan said, well, you still have your brothers, which are your dear servants. Yeah, you can play your brothers. So he lost his brothers. Then they were all married to one wife, Draupadi. You hopefully have heard of her. Yeah, Draupadi, which was the wife of the 5 Pandavas. And she also was lost. So everything was lost. Everything was completely lost. They became now the slaves of Duryodhan, of the evil son of the king, of the not real king, of the blind king. Yeah, they became slaves. There is this story where Draupadi was disrobed in the court. You have heard that story. Guruji often tells this story where she was like called because now she becomes the servant girl of Duryodhan and the Kauravas, and she doesn't want to come. So Dushasan goes and grabs her by the head and hair and pulls her into the courtyard and wants to disrobe her, make her naked in front of everybody. You have heard that story? So when he tries to disrobe her, she calls upon Krishna, and there's endless sari, and her virtue is protected through that. Yeah, that story happens in this times. So they lost everything, but then they got a new chance. Like everybody knew that this is wrong. Yeah, so they said, okay, let's make one last game. Whoever wins has to go into exile, has to leave the kingdom for 12 years. And 1 year, the last year, so 12 years going in exile, and the 13th year you have to hide. And if you're discovered during your hiding, you will have to go another 12 years into exile. Okay? That was the last bet what they did. So they played that one, and obviously the Pandavas, the good guys, lost again. So now they had to leave the kingdom for 12 years together with their wife and with their mother. They left the kingdom for 12 years, and the 13th year they hide in another kingdom. So all these years the Kauravas took over the kingdom and ruled the kingdom. Okay? Duryodhan, the bad guy, he had no interest in keeping to his promise that if this exile is finished, you will get back your fair share of the kingdom. No, he didn't. He was not interested in that. He would have killed them immediately if he could. They were just too powerful. So after the 13 years were finished, now the Pandavas came back from exile. And they said, hello, we are back. We kept our bargaining. Now give us back our kingdom. And Duryodhan said, no, you don't get back your kingdom. And so the friction, the tension started to become bigger, and it became obvious that war is imminent. Yeah? So they started to prepare for war. Both of the families started to prepare for war. During this time, there was also the king of Dwarka, which was Krishna. Yeah? Krishna was a great king, and both of the cousins, Duryodhan and Arjuna, went to Krishna to ask for his help. So there is the very important story, the story which you might know, where Krishna is sleeping and Arjuna and Duryodhan come to his kingdom. So first comes Duryodhan, and he enters his chambers. He enters the chamber of Krishna, and he sits next to his bed, and he waits till he wakes up. And then there comes Arjuna, and Arjuna goes at the bottom of his bed to his feet, and he waits also for Krishna to wake up. So now Krishna is waking up, and of course when you wake up, the first thing he sees is the one which is at his feet, Arjuna. So he says, oh, you have come, Arjuna. What has brought you here? And Duryodhan is next to him saying, I'm also here. I came first. And I have come to ask for your help in this war. We are going at war, and I want your help. And Krishna said, I will help both of you. Yeah, I have no preferences. I have something to offer. Just 1 second. So what I have to offer is, one of you can have my army. Krishna's army was huge, was very, very powerful. Very great, powerful army. And the other one can have me, Krishna. But I can tell you one thing, I will not fight. I will not fight. I can support you, I can counsel you, but I will not take weapons and I will not fight. You choose, whatever you want, you can have. Who do you think chose what? Quite obvious, no? Duryodhan chose to have his army. And he was very happy that he got now a very great and powerful army, the army of Krishna. And Arjuna was very happy because he didn't want anything else than the presence of Krishna. Yeah, Krishna is also a cousin of both of them, cousin of Arjuna, but that's like if you look at the family. So now we have these two mighty armies. One is the army of the Pandavas, with Krishna as a counselor, and one is the army of the Kauravas, which has included also the army of Krishna. In that, just as a side note, you can see a very, very important, beautiful image. You see, when Duryodhan and Arjuna go to Krishna, so it's basically Duryodhan is our prideful desires, our ego desire, etc. Yeah, and Arjuna is sometimes represented as our higher self, as our soul in some situations, representing that more pure part. We have both parts in ourselves, right? You have a little angel and a little devil sitting on your shoulder and telling you one thing and another thing. So now this inner fight starts and you go to God, you go to Guruji and you say, Guruji, please help me. And Krishna is saying, Guruji is saying, I will help both of you. One can have my gifts. Yeah, one can have the whole army of God. You can have the whole world. You can have the pleasures of the world. You can have the power of this world. You can have all of those things. And one can have me. One can have God. You cannot have both. You cannot say, oh, I want 1/3 of the army and I want Krishna. Because Krishna clearly says, no, either you have me or you have my gifts. One of both. You decide what you want. Obviously, if you have me, you have everything. Yeah, in Christianity it is said, seek first the kingdom of God and everything else will be given to you. Right? That's what the Bible says. When you read the Bhagavad Gita, when you say, Mam ekam sharanam vraja, make me your only refuge place. God has to become number one in our life. As a devotee, it is obvious that God is number one. If God is number one, everything increases its value. Yeah, if you have the number one standing in front, if you have God in your life, Guruji in your life, spirituality in your life, that is first priority. If you have then a nice relationship, that's at 0, adding 1 and 0 becomes 10. If you have a nice house, another 0 you can add, that's 100. If you have a nice car, another 0, that's 1,000. You have healthy children, another 0, 10,000. You have all the pleasures and all the beauty of this world, and you can add zeros and zeros, and your value of life becomes more and more big. It increases. But only because you have the priority set clear. God is number one. God must be number one. If you remove the number one in the front, then you can have infinite zeros. Infinite zeros are still which value? Infinite times 0 is still how much? 0. The value is 0. And that is somehow this image where Duryodhana and Arjuna go to Krishna, and Krishna says, one can have me and one can have my gifts. You decide. So you are now part of this game, because this story is not a story which happened 5,000 years ago. This story happens continuously. It happens in your life, where the question is, what do you choose? What do you want in life? What is your priority? Is it God, or is it this world? Is it the pleasures, or is it the love for God? So anyway, now we have these two armies, and they are getting ready for war. Before the war starts, Krishna makes one last tentative to go to Duryodhana and to ask for a peaceful solution. Yeah, because the law of ahimsa, non-violence, trying to find always a peaceful solution as much as possible. So Krishna goes to Duryodhana, to the kingdom, and says, you know what, Duryodhana, you don't want to give them the kingdom, their share. Fair enough. The Pandavas have agreed that if you give them 5 villages to live in peacefully, they will renounce the kingdom. And Duryodhana just laughs out. I will not give them 5 villages. Then Krishna says, okay then give them at least 5 houses in a village where they can live peacefully. And they will promise not to attack you, they will leave you in peace. And again Duryodhana, I will not give them 5 houses. Krishna even goes further and says, give them 1 house that they can live peacefully together. In the whole kingdom, huge kingdom, just give them 1 place to stay. And Duryodhana said, I will not give them land which is as big as the tip of a needle. There's nothing. I want the world to be rid of those Pandavas. So you can see every attempt to find peaceful solution was disregarded, and therefore it was obvious that war is happening. Okay? Now the war is imminent, and that's how we get to the Bhagavad Gita. Okay? That's the starting point, how we came there. Yeah, this is just so that you have a kind of an overview. Where does this even come from? Is that clear? Is that helpful? Good. So, then Bhagavad Gita starts, like I said, it has 18 chapters, and it starts with the first chapter. The first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga, the lamentation of Arjuna. So, anybody of you knows what Bhagavad Gita means? Anybody? Question. You know what the Bhagavad Gita means? Just unmute yourself, Vladika, and tell me.
The song of the Lord.
Exactly. So Bhagavan is God and Gita is the song. So Bhagavad Gita is the song of God. First chapter. Like I said, in those sections, I will go through all the 18 chapters, but on a very, very basic overall level, so that you get just a picture of all of them together. Yeah? Before I start that, I want to say that, okay, now you have seen where does the Bhagavad Gita come from, like the Mahabharata. What is the Bhagavad Gita? It's the Song of God. It's 700 verses, 18 chapters. Now, if you want to have another classification, if you study the Bhagavad Gita, for example, the Bhagavad Gita, again, you can separate into 3 main parts. The first part is chapter 1 till chapter 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6 chapters each time. So chapter 1 till chapter 6 speaks in general, for those who maybe have studied already a little bit, speaks in general about karma yoga. It speaks about many things, but if you want to say it in one word, it speaks about karma yoga. The path of selfless service, and the goal, what it promotes, it is self-realization. Okay, so I repeat, the Bhagavad Gita, these 18 chapters, you can separate into 3 parts. The first part being chapter 1 till 6, which if you summarize it, and you just want to say it, what is essentially it's speaking of? Karma yoga. The path of selfless service, and the goal of self-realization. The second part is from chapter 6 till 12. Chapter 6 till 12 now starts a different story. It speaks about Bhakti Yoga, the path of love and devotion, which obviously includes the grace. We will touch upon that. I will explain it more. And therefore, it speaks about not only self-realization, but God realization. So first part, chapter 1 till 6, Karma Yoga, self-realization. Second part, chapter 7 till 12, Bhakti Yoga, God realization. And the last part, chapter 13 till chapter 18, is a deepening of all the previous chapters. It elaborates again on everything which has been said before, and it goes deeper into the theme. Okay, this is just for you to give you another summary about it. So everybody can see now how much you want to go deep into it. You have Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita. What is the Bhagavad Gita? 18 chapters, 700 verses. Now this 18 chapters, 700 verses, you can again separate into 3 parts. Chapter 1 till 6, chapter 7 till 12, chapter 13 till 18. Okay? Good? I see some confused faces, but never mind. You will get it once I especially say it for those who have already maybe started to learn a little bit and who want to learn a little bit more about the Bhagavad Gita. If I can give you a recommendation, if you want to learn, like really make it your daily companion, the Bhagavad Gita, a very helpful, simple way of doing that is if you remember what is the chapter called. So chapter 1 is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. So you don't need to know the Sanskrit name, but if you know what it means, El Lamento de Arjuna, the lamentation of Arjuna, then you have already kind of the essence what this whole chapter speaks about. It speaks about the lamentation. So, in this chapter, let's now see. Like I said, I will only speak about the basics of it. So in this chapter now, we go to chapter 1 verse 22, where Krishna says, "O Krishna, colócame carruaje entre los dos ejércitos. Deseo ver a los que están presentes aquí y saber exactamente con quién tengo de luchar en esta gran batalla." So I will read it in Spanish, so I will learn a little bit. I will improve my Spanish, hopefully in the next few years with you guys, or my Mexicano, Chilango. whatever. So the first chapter, Arjuna is presented with his army. Duryodhan is presented with his army. They are confronted on a big battlefield, Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, which, like I said, represents our body, represents the field of righteousness. It is our life. And that's what is very important, which I want you to be aware of. Everything we're gonna say in the next few sessions, I don't want you to learn the Bhagavad Gita. I want you to understand the Bhagavad Gita. That's a difference. Yeah? The Bhagavad Gita speaks about you and your life. As much this has happened more than 5,000 years ago, it is as actual, it is as contemporary, important today than it was 5,000 years ago. So please try to see it from that viewpoint. So now Arjuna goes, he's having, like I said, Krishna is with him. Krishna has said, I will not fight, but he has said, I will be your charioteer. Yeah, I don't know how you say that in Spanish. Maybe somebody tell me how you say charioteer in Spanish?
Carruaje.
Carruaje. Auriga. Auriga. Auriga is also in Italian.
No, auriga es el conductor.
Sí, eso.
El conductor del
carro. Sí. El conductor de la carrozza. Il cocchiere. In Italiano il cocchiere. Auriga. Sí. Bien. So Krishna is now the auriga, and Arjuna is standing on his chariot, and in chapter 1 verse 22 he says, "O Krishna, please bring my chariot in between the two armies, because I want to see with whom I have to fight." Now imagine this scenario. You have two huge armies. Arjuna is going with his chariot in the middle, and he's looking at both sides. This has a very, very important meaning for our life. When we are in our struggle, when we are in our life struggles, we have to come exactly to that place. We have to come to the place of middle ground, where we can observe what is our good sides and what is our not so good sides. What is our strengths and what are our weaknesses. In your daily life, just think about yourself. You have to consider both of those things, because they're both there. Nobody of you has just good sides, nobody of you has just bad sides. We all have both. And before you start to battle, you have to go in the middle and overlook what's going on. Who are my enemies? What is the problem? Okay? So, what I would like you to do before we go on is now that you reflect about your enemies. You see, the enemies which now Arjuna sees are external enemies. They are his cousins. They are his teachers. They are other family members. And what happens? He stands there and he looks at them and he is overcome by weakness. He doesn't want to fight. He says like, you know what? I don't want to fight. When he carries on, if you read chapter 1, after he observes the opposite army, he comes to the conclusion, I don't want to fight. Chapter 1 ends with his lamentation, saying, he puts down his bow and arrow, his arms, and he says, no, I don't want to fight. right? That is how the story goes. And that is exactly how your life goes. That's exactly how our life goes. Sometimes you are confronted with difficulties in life, external or internal ones, where you just say, you know what, this is too much for me. I give up. I don't want to fight. Has that happened to you? Like, you can have external ones, yeah? For example, you want to become a devotee, yeah? And I have heard, especially in Mexico, being a devotee, one of the greatest challenges of being a devotee is that you can't eat meat anymore. Haribol. That is the problems of Mexico. Don't worry, other countries have cats which they struggle with. Yeah, they want to feed their cats, and they don't know if they should choose between God or their cat. Some people don't know if they should choose between God and a steak or whatever. Never mind. Maybe you have chosen, you want to become a devotee, you want to live a more pure life, you want to stop having tequila and la vida loca, and you think like, okay, let me dedicate my life to something with more purpose, let me dedicate my life to the service of God, to the service of my spiritual master. Let me become a new version of myself. Let me transform, let me evolve, all of those things. And now you start to make the first steps, and everybody around you is like attacking you, saying, ¿Qué pasa? ¿Estás loco, güey? Yeah, what happened? Like, you're not gonna go for party anymore, you're not gonna drink, you're not gonna have meat, you even go to a spiritual master to receive blessings and bowing down to his feet. Like, yeah, like, are you completely crazy? And now you have to explain yourself, and you explain one time, and you explain your parents, and you explain your husband and your wife, and you explain at work, and you explain here and there, and you get tired every time you have to explain. And at some point you just come to the point of saying, you know what, just, yeah, déjalo. Yeah, give me this meat, I will just eat it. Give me that drink, I will just drink it. Just, I'm tired of fighting. Just leave it. You can understand what I'm saying, or I'm creating scenarios which don't exist? I think they might exist. So these are external enemies which you don't want to fight anymore. Yeah, external circumstances which you might not be able or wanting to change. Then there is internal one. Yeah, maybe you have, let's say, maybe you have some bad habits. Maybe it's not the external which pushes you to the bad habits, but maybe you have really bad habits and you want to change. You actually love to eat your meat. You actually love to smoke. You actually love to drink. You actually love to do all things which make your life more miserable. But you know that you shouldn't, and you want to stop this and you want to change. But it's just very, very difficult. Yeah, and every time you try, you are in a big inner struggle. There's one side the angel, one side the devil. And it's like saying, take it, don't take it, drink it, don't drink it. Yeah, and you have this inner Mahabharata. You're fighting with yourself, and you're like coming to the point again, you know what, yeah, let's just have a smoke, let's just have a puff, oh, let's just do it, let's just go for party, let's just get crazy. Again, you choose not to fight. You give up. Has this happened to you? So what I want you now to do for this next sessions, now in this moment, I want you to close your eyes a moment. Take a few deep breaths. you are now Arjuna on your chariot. And you just ask Krishna to drive your chariot between the two armies. And now you look towards your enemies. Look towards the enemy army which is standing in front of you. Who are those enemies? Which persons are those persons which limited you on your spiritual path, which make your life difficult? And just let whatever picture come. Just take whoever passes by in your mind. You look at your enemies. There are some inequalities, some things which you are not wanting to face. What are those things? What are the things you are now struggling with, but you don't want to overcome them? You don't want to challenge yourself. You don't want to fight. What are the things which limit your spiritual growth right now? Internal one and external one. And if you have seen in your situation now which that enemy is, please note it down on a paper, in your phone, whatever you want. Who and what is right now your enemy which limits your spiritual growth? Did you all find one? Who did not find an enemy? Let me check on the second page. Okay. I really want you now to think of that with whatever we speak about the Bhagavad Gita. No, that's what Krishna speaks about. He speaks about you and your enemy. You are in a struggle. You are Arjuna and you have your lamentation. If Guruji would be there, if we would give you now the platform, you would give your drama, your lamentation, why you cannot overcome your problem. Right? You all have your reasons. Do you have reasons why you cannot change, why you cannot transform, why you cannot become a vegetarian, why you cannot stop doing certain things and start doing other things? Do you have reasons for it? Yes? Well, just know Arjuna has many reasons why he doesn't want to fight. Chapter 1 of the Bhagavad Gita, he keeps on making his point. He says why this is wrong, this is not righteous, why this is against the culture, why this is very, very bad. This is adharmic. Yeah, this is not righteous what we are doing. We shouldn't fight. He's making his conclusion. And you can argue anything. Has that ever happened to you? You're doing the worst thing in life and still you find all reasons why you're doing the right thing. We're just lying to ourselves. Because you can't fool God and you can't fool Guruji. But you can fool yourself very easily. So, just look at your enemy and look at what are the reasons why you don't want to fight. So, make that a second note. If you have written down now your enemy, make a second note. What are the excuses why you're not overcoming why you're not changing? Just make a note. Why? What's the reason? You found your reason? Give me a thumbs up if you found your reason. If you found your enemy and found your reason, please give me a thumbs up. And just know you do this for yourself. You don't do it for me. I'm not gonna check that stuff. It's if you want to change, if you want to benefit from it, be honest with yourself. Okay. Good. So we're almost coming already to the end for today. Yeah. So what we have spoken today was, in general, what the Bhagavad Gita is, where it is coming from this Mahabharata, this great epos, the story which speaks about two families, the Kauravas and Pandavas. The Pandavas are the righteous heirs for the kingdom. The Kauravas have taken over. They don't want to give it back, and therefore it comes to a war. Now when the war is there, Arjuna is in chapter 1, and he laments after seeing all his cousins, after seeing all the people he also loves, after being overcome by attachment and weakness. He says, I don't want to fight. Basically, that's all what we said. This is what happens with your spiritual path. You have at some point something inside of you awakens. Your higher self, your Atman, is somehow getting more and more awakened. And now that Atma is saying, I am in charge here. And what does Duryodhan say? What does the desire say? What does the pride say? Does it say, oh yeah, sure, have a seat, take over, you are in charge now? Is that how it works? Or is there a big conflict starting? I think it is the big conflict starting. That's our inner battle. That's the Bhagavad Gita. That's the Mahabharata. It is our inner journey, our inner battle. And after this lamentation, we come to chapter 2. I will just say the beginning of the chapter 2 so that we have the starting point for next time. I won't finish it. Chapter 2 is called Sankhya Yoga. Anybody knows what Sankhya means? If you're intelligent enough, you just read. Sankhya means analysis. Anybody knows what the analysis is about? Anybody wants to say it? Please. Again, if you're intelligent enough, just read. It's all written there. Analysis between della naturalezza material e della naturalezza spiritual. Sankhya means analysis. The second chapter is now an analysis between spiritual reality and material reality. You have now found your enemy. You have found your reasons why you don't want to change. And now, so far, Guruji has not spoken one word to you. Krishna has not spoken one word. In the whole first chapter, Krishna doesn't speak. It's just you speaking, you whining, meh. Because it's so hard, I cannot, oh, this, that. Huh? Guruji has not said anything. He's quiet. Second chapter starts, he will start to speak. Sankhya, he will start to speak about an analysis between a material reality and a spiritual reality. Because before we don't understand that we are a spiritual reality, before we don't understand that there is two kinds of realities, we will never find a solution. So, do we have still a minute? Yeah, we still have a minute. So in chapter 2, verse 7, there is a very important turning point. And this point is important in your life. If you want to really change, you have to come somehow to that point. So far, you have noticed why you don't want to change. You have noticed who is your enemy, what is the problem, and why this problem is too big of a problem for you to grow. Right? Is that right? Yes or no? Good. Now, Arjuna, after Krishna is encouraging him, and Krishna is saying, you are stupid. Yeah, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're just wrong. You think you know what you're talking about. You have no clue. Like, you speak about as if you know, but you just don't know. Guruji is telling you that. You have your reasons, but sorry, you're wrong. And then, after this becomes very clear to Arjuna, Arjuna now says, con mi corazón vencido por la debilidad y mi mente confundida acerca de mi deber, te insto a que me digas claramente lo que es bueno para mí. Soy tu discípulo y tomo refugio en ti. Por favor, instrúyeme. Shishyam te sharimam tvam prapanam. Tell me, show me the path. What is right? I am your disciple. I don't know. This is a very important step in your life. What does that step show? What do you think? You can unmute yourself. There's one quality which is in that expression.
Humility.
Humility. Exactly. Humility of not thinking, oh, I know everything, oh, I'm the best, oh, I have figured it all out, I am the most intelligent. No. I've come to the conclusion, I don't know. But I want to know. So first thing is, I don't know. Second thing, I want to know. And I'm now looking for somebody who knows. And once you find the one who knows, the third step obviously will be that you will have to follow what the one who knows tells you, right? Otherwise, there's no point. But don't worry, you are Arjuna, and Arjuna we are all the same. So as much as we should follow what our teacher says, even after Arjuna has asked this question of humility, please show me the way, just 2 verses later, in verse number 9, he says, I will not fight. So basically he has just said, you tell me what I should do, but then just 1 second later he says, but I will not fight. It's like you going to Guruji and say, please tell me, what should I change? And he says, before he even starts speaking, he says, but I will not change this. Huh? So it's like, again, you can see, I want to change, but I don't want to change. I want to change, but I don't want to change. So you decide if you want to change or not. In the next session, we're gonna see what now the teachings of Krishna gonna be, so that our change can actually step by step start and happen. Any questions? No questions?
Yes, I have one.
Yeah?
How we can, when we have this fight with ourselves, it's what we can do for going better and this fight going down. Because sometimes here in Mexico, the people don't like when you are vegan, or they push you away, and have a lot of problems with this. I try to don't listen this, but sometimes it hurts.
Well, but that's the whole point. So what is going to be the solution which Krishna gives is going to be next week. We're going to carry on that. I'm not going to spoil the story, but obviously you have to take your bow and fight. You can't give up. Like giving up and just saying, oh, I just stop fighting. I'm just stop putting my values aside. I just gonna give up. That is not the solution. I can tell you that. So you have to be strong for the spiritual path. That is very, very important. We have to be strong. That's why Guruji says often, people like to go on the spiritual path because they have certain ideas. Yeah, but it's almost like a drug again, where you think it's going to be flowers and flying. And the moment it's not flowers and flying anymore, you want to run away again and find something else. Now, there's going to be a lot of struggles, because you are in this battlefield, and without this inner battle, you will not grow. Yeah, it's just a question how strong you'll fight and whom you give more attention. But yes, there is solutions, and that's why the Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful, because it gives you comfort. It explains you what you can do, where you focus your mind on, how you can help yourself and also others to have a better understanding of yourself, of those processes, etc., etc. And that we're going to look in the next session. So maybe Jai Gurudev. That's why make the Bhagavad Gita your companion, because it's going to help you in every situation in life.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else?
So we all pass through these 18 chapters.
Eventually, yes. We all, every human being, I would dare to say, is in chapter 1. Everybody is in a constant inner fight. Everybody is fighting, knowingly, unknowingly, if they like it, if they don't like it. Everybody is lamenting at some point in life, right? Everybody is in chapter 1. If you go to chapter 2 and then carry on to all the 18 chapters, that is a choice. Eventually, in all the eons of lifetimes, I guess you will pass through all the 18 chapters. If it's in this lifetime, not sure. That is a choice. That is a choice. You can also stay Arjuna in chapter 1 and keep on complaining, lamenting, and being weak. And being a victim of life, of circumstances, etc., etc. Blame others, etc. That's, many people live like that, and that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, as you can see already, the willingness of saying, please show me another path. I have seen that I don't know. Please show me how I can change. That slightest interest already, that readiness is a grace in itself. It's a very beautiful, important part in your life. So if you have that willingness to change, nourish it, kindle it, because it's not something which is which is a given. Yeah, it's not that everybody just has that. There's many people who just don't have the strength, don't want to change because they just want to stay in chapter 1. But in the end, if you want the good news, like Guruji says, everybody has, for everybody there's a plan A in life. Yeah? We are all in our plan A, especially when you meet your Gurudev, he will guide you on your plan A. If you take plan A, if you take the chances, the opportunities he gives you, great. If you miss the chance, you will have plan B. If you miss that chance, he will have plan C. If you mess up that chance, he will have plan C. Like that, he has many plans, and like he always said, in the end, God will always win. Because you cannot not come back to him, because you're part of him. The question is only, how long will it take? When will it happen? This lifetime, next millions of lifetimes? I don't know. I just tell you, now you have a good opportunity. You have quite a good life. I guess as you have a computer and Zoom, you probably have enough food and you have a roof over your head. You're living in quite a peaceful environment. So you have a lot of time and potential to dedicate to your spiritual growth, because that opportunity is not always given, as we can see how the world is. So take the chances when they are given. Don't waste time, don't waste opportunities. Good, then in that sense, muchas gracias, obrigado, fiquem bem, and I see you probably next week, same time, same place. Keep checking this enemy and try to find the inner warrior that you start already overcoming the first battle. I wish you a nice day and Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev. Gracias, Swami. Solo para decirles a todos, to tell everybody that in Facebook there is a closed group that you can see the repetition and you have the recording too.
Okay.
If you want to join, just ask me.
Shanti, 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 Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Prem se bolo Satgurudev Swami Shivananda Mahaprabhu ki Jai.